Okay, so we are going to make a shadow box in the hoop embroidery ornament. And the first thing I'm going to point out is it's done on the organza, and I stabilize it using a tool. So what I do is I take my hoop to the size of what the pattern is on the embroidery machine. This one happens to be an R14 for my sewing machine. I believe it says on here. Sorry, it's an SQ14B hoop for my Janome 500E. And what I'm going to do is I've just taken a piece of tulle and cut it bigger than my hoop, and then did the same thing on the organza. And now what we're going to do is we're going to layer the organza on top of the tulle, and we're going to hoop our material. So hoop under, and then material on top. Grab the top of the hoop and drop that baby in. And then once you have it in, give it a push in. Start to tighten up your hoop so that things snug up. And then I push down. And then what I do is I just pull my fabric. I start with the tulle and smooth that out as much as I can. You may or may not be able to see that some of the wrinkling from underneath is coming out just by pulling that tooling. Once I have that done pretty good, then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to see if my organza will stretch out any further, and it is just a wee bit. You want to make this pretty drum tight, as tight as you can go. And then once I have that pretty smoothed out, I start to tighten my hoop in place. And then I'll come back in and I'll push my hoop down. And once I have it in there pretty good, looks like I've managed to get most of that wrinkling out. Looks like it's pretty tight in there. Feels pretty tight. I give it one more little stretch out, equally on both sides, like so. And I'm feeling pretty good about that now. Yeah, feels very, very taut. Once we have it hooped, the material hooped, then we're going to take it to the embroidery machine and get it printed out. Now, one other thing I do like to do is I like to just take a pin and kind of pierce the fabric into the frame, as I've done here, to prevent that material from slipping as much as possible. So now that it's all pinned into place, we're just going to move it to the embroidery machine. My embroidery pattern tells you what color to use. You can use like a sepia or a brown or black, gray. I really think it's up to the user to choose what color you want. Pattern will tell you. Anyways, I've got my hoop in place, and I'm using like a sepia or a brown tone. And here's my pattern all loaded up into my embroidery machine. It says it's going to take 24 minutes. So I will go ahead and get it printed for the first one, and then we're going to do the same process and do the second one, and I'll show you when I've completed this panel. So here is the first layer completed. So organza's on the top and the tooling is on the bottom. At this stage, you'd want to clip any threads. I used a matching bobbin thread. You can see it looks the same front and back. Just see a couple little threads here, so I'm going to get those clipped up. I'm going to rehoop my next set of organza and tulle, and I'm going to print out the background, and then I'll show you how we put it together. So here we go. Okay, so I loaded my next blank in. This time I put the tooling on top because I want it to be sandwiched between the layers so that you can feel the organza on the back side. So the Again, I'm using matching thread top and bottom. And you might have wondered, why am I using pins instead of my little magnet clamps? My magnet clamps do not fit this hoop size. I find it works the best on my big one, but it doesn't work. And it works okay on my rectangle, small rectangle, but it doesn't work that great on the square. So that's why I use the pins. This is a great little tip if there's something you don't want it to slip. And you want to keep it taut. That's one way you can do it, is just by putting a pin, and I put it right there, so that way it has no chance of moving. It does tear this little bit ever so slightly, but it's tiny, and it doesn't affect because our main design is right here. But that just tells you have this taut enough. So now I've loaded up my next design, and this will be the background, and we're just going to go ahead and get that printed, and using exactly the same thread. And when it's done, I'll show you how to layer it into the embroidery hoop. So here we are with our first one printed and our second one printed. And what we're going to do is, so I have the tulle on the inside, so top on the bottom layer and bottom on the top layer. And you're going to, you reference the photo for situating it, but essentially it's going to look like this. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to hoop it. And so to do this, you want the, so I picked up this hoop on Amazon. This is a 5-inch ring, but you can buy these at the dollar store or the craft store. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your hoop down. You're going to center your design so that you have the top going to the top like that. So remember that where that is, that's the top. That's where you're going to add your ribbon or your hook. And you're just going to layer this in here perfectly. It's a little more challenging one-handed. So I'll finesse it and push it over and make sure that my everything's looking the way it should. So everything makes sense. And then once I have it all layered in, you're going to put the top ring down, push it all down like so. And then I'm going to clip off all 4 layers. Once I have it in and tightened, then I come back with a little bit of fray check. You could use a light glue product, but fray check is typically, it's also a glue product. And it just prevents the organza from fraying. But once it's in here, it's going to stay in here. It shouldn't come out. So you could use a glue product on top. You could finish this with some ribbon if you wanted to. I've just left it plain like that. You could paint the frame if you wanted to. But you can see once it's in the hoop, here we are like so. And then the reverse. So I'll finesse working out its placement and get all of this pulled nice and taut, and then I'll clamp it down, and then I'll trim it off. I'll finish it with this, add a ribbon. It's good to go. I'll show you when I'm all done. So once I have them lined up where I'm happy with the image, then I just pin it into place through all the layers. Then I put the hoop on, then I pull out as much as I can. So that's where I'm at. Now I'm tightening up the hoop, and I'm going to remove these guys, pull a little bit more taut, and then finally I'll do my last lockdown on the little bolt here, and then I'll do a trim off. So we're all done, and just to let you know, when I trimmed off the organza, I used a nice little pair of curved scissors to get it right down in there so that you can take off as much as possible, right down flat. Then I'm going to come back in with my frayed check. Oh, can't open the bottle. And I'm going to just come and squirt it all through, just through here, right on the edge of the material. And I'll just go all the way around on this side, let that dry, and I went ahead and stuck my little ribbon on there, and there she is, all complete and ready to be hung. Hope you enjoyed this little tutorial, and show me, I'd love to see yours when you make yours. Where did I buy the pattern? I want to say it was Embroidery Library. I could be wrong. I'd have to double check that. Anyways, thanks for viewing.